Romance of Sui and Tang Dynasties Chapter 61.
So the situation is tense. We've got General Luo Cheng, they call him Lu Gongzi, and he's finally traveling to settle this long-awaited political marriage. He's marrying Princess Du Xianniang, and this is all happening after the tragic death of Hua Mulan, which just makes everything messy. Securing this alliance is critical.
And he's not traveling alone. He has his escort, Zheng Gongjin. But the real star of this initial strategy session is Hua Yulan. She's also known as Hua Erniang. And she is this brilliant advisor who's going to shape the entire mission.
And this is where it gets interesting. Luo Cheng has this massive advantage, this ace up his sleeve. An imperial decree is on its way.
A direct order from the emperor.
Exactly. It mandates the marriage. It's the ultimate political muscle. So here's the hook for you. Luo Cheng wants to use that decree, like right away, get the deal done. But Yulan, his advisor, argues just vehemently against it.
And that's the puzzle.
Why on earth would you tell a prince to abandon a sure thing?
Well, Luo Cheng's thinking is, it's purely pragmatic. He's like, I'll go to the capital, get the decree, then visit the princess.
Done and dusted.
Marriage secured. But Yulan, she sees the long-term relational fallout, the damage that kind of brute force approach would cause.
Wait, hold on. We are talking about political stability here, right? In the middle of a war. Isn't her advice, however nice it sounds morally, isn't it kind of dangerously idealistic? What's the real risk of not just locking this down immediately?
The risk of not using it is, in her mind, much smaller than the risk of using it the wrong way. She reminds him, look, this engagement was already high stakes, it was rushed.
Not an easy promise, as the text says.
Exactly. And Du Xianniang is a woman of serious integrity. If Luo Cheng just shows up now, after all this time, after Mulan's death, and shoves an imperial command in her face, well, that translates to the one thing.
Coercing affection through power.
Precisely.
So it just poisons the well. The whole relationship is tainted before it even begins. This is supposed to be a treaty, not a conquest.
You got it. And Yulan makes it intensely personal. She says, it's not just that Princess Du would resent this. She says she, Yulan, would not tolerate it either. It's almost an ultimatum. She's telling him, if you use raw power here, you diminish yourself. In my eyes, and more importantly, in the eyes of the woman you're trying to marry.
That is some serious strategic leverage. She's basically demanding he meet a higher moral standard for the sake of, long-term political effectiveness?
Yeah.
So what was her alternative? What was the honorable path she laid out?
It was a brilliant piece of what you might call relationship arbitrage. She says, first, you go there only under the guise of offering condolences for Mulan.
Okay, so it shows respect. Respect for the dead and for the princess's period of mourning.
Right. And this visit, then, becomes a reconnaissance mission. He's supposed to use the time to observe her behavior, to explore her character, see who she really is.
So they're weaponizing condolence.
In a way, yes, but for a moral purpose. And then she gives him the condition for using the decree. She says, only if the princess absolutely firmly rejects the union.
Only that.
Only then does he produce the imperial order. And even then, he has to make it clear he's acting, quote, under compulsion, that the force is external, not his own preference.
The sequence is everything. By waiting, he proves his first choice is sincerity, not force. He gives her the agency to choose, which in turn makes the alliance that much stronger down the road.
And Luo Cheng is, he's completely disarmed by this. The text says he's moved to tears. He says she's perfectly understood human nature, to He immediately scraps his plan and commands the group to proceed down this honorable path. Yulan had just completely redefined his idea of what successful political action looks like. Yeah. There's moral foresight.
That gambit worked. Okay, so let's pivot to the target of this whole strategy, Du Xianniang herself. Yulan's plan is completely dependent on the princess valuing honor over, a direct order. So who is this woman?
Well, she's introduced to us in deep mourning. She's maintaining this really disciplined, quiet household. The text describes her as having the demeanor of Empress Cow. So she's practical, she's financially independent, and she is secure.
That's a huge detail. We're told she used her own dowry, right? Money from the Dowager Empress to pay for Mulan's burial. And she even bought land, sacrificial fields for the upkeep.
She's fiscally responsible and completely self-sufficient.
Which just proves Yulan's point. A woman like that who is financially independent, who runs such a tight ship, she would absolutely resent being bullied by a piece of paper.
Exactly. Her gate is guarded so tightly that the text says even a 3-foot boy, a small child working there, wouldn't dare let an unwarranted visitor in. She controls her own world.
She's not easily accessible, not easily influenced. But she's not alone, right? She has a network.
A strong one. All female friends. A Mrs. Yan, a Mrs. Yang, and 4 ladies from the New Zen temple. That's her internal support.
But there's an external one, too.
Yes, and this is critical. The local hermit, a man named Jia Renfu. The text is very explicit about this. For all external affairs, she trusts him and only him. We need to remember that name. It becomes strategically vital later on.
Okay, let's file that away. Jia Renfu. So now we get to the point of friction, the ultimate test of virtue. Yulan arrives at the estate.
And she's dressed as a male soldier.
Right, which confuses Du Xianniang's friend, Yuanxian, but the princess. She's immediately reminded of Luo Cheng himself. After Yulan changes, the princess is so taken with her character that she proposes a sworn sisterhood on the spot.
Fulfilling the alliance that Mulan had always intended. It's a huge show of faith, but it also dials up the tension immediately.
How so?
During the celebratory meal, Yuanxian, the friend, starts pushing the princess to just accept the marriage. Now, she's a pragmatist. She argues Luo Cheng is a dragon and tiger among men, and he's basically condescending to even be there. She's implying Du Xianniang as being foolish.
But Du Xianniang resists. She says she wants to uphold virtue to maintain her fidelity, and then she draws this really sharp line in the sand for her friend. She says, you follow the expedient path, I hold to the principle.
And then she twists the knife. She looks at Yulan and implies that all her hard work might be paid in vain.
That's an accusation.
It lands right on Yulan. Du Xianniang is essentially asking her, how deep is your loyalty, really? Why are you working so hard to make this marriage happen if you're just going to become the prince's other woman?
The whole conversation is suddenly about Yulan's integrity.
Yes. And this is where the entire strategy comes to a head. Yulan reveals the core of her sacrifice, a secret she has been keeping for months.
What is it?
She tells them that even though she lived with Luo Cheng for 2 full months, sleeping in the same bed, as the text says, her body was, quote, never defiled. She maintained absolute purity before heaven.
Wow, that's the ultimate proof of her intentions.
It is the ultimate strategic leverage. Her integrity isn't just a moral position. It's proof of her absolute commitment to Du Xianniang's status as the primary wife. She then gives her definition of true virtue. Fidelity, she says, is only meaningful when it's maintained in the midst of difficulty and yet firmly maintained.
Anyone can be virtuous when it's easy.
Exactly. To maintain that purity while sharing a bed with a prince for 2 months. That is moral authority completely overriding political desire.
I love that. She's arbitraging honor for political gain. And then feeling safe for the first time, she drinks, gets drunk, passes out.
Which forces the princess to verify this incredible claim.
Yeah.
In her disciplined way, she summons the maid, Jinling, who was with Yulan the whole time. Jinling confirms everything. Luo Cheng did intend to tease Yulan at first, but Yulan swore a binding oath to remain pure until she had met the princess face to face and cleared the air. Her fidelity was a strategic act, a sacrifice dedicated to securing the princess's position.
And this revelation just changes everything for Du Xianniang.
It's a profound realization. She's overwhelmed. She calls Luo Cheng a true gentleman and Yulan a righteous woman. Yulan's sacrifice is so great it elevates both of them in her eyes.
She feels a moral debt.
An immense one. She concludes that since Yulan maintained her purity specifically to yield the place of main wife to her, she now has to repay that honor.
By yielding Luo Cheng to Yulan.
Yes. To complete, in her words, the beauty of both their arrangements.
That is a monumental reversal. She's giving up the primary political match of her time, and she acts on it immediately, before any official decree can even arrive.
She completely bypasses the formal military structure. She drafts a secret memorial to the empress, and she writes a private letter to a consort she knows, Yuan Zawi, someone she had cultivated with gifts. She's using her own personal, informal political network.
She is. And she equips her maids, Wu Liang and Jinling, with money and sends them straight to the capital. And this is where that detail about the hermit becomes essential.
The intelligence network kicks into high gear. Jinling makes a crucial detour. She runs to the trusted local hermit, Jia Renfu.
The one the princess trusts with all external affairs.
The very same. She tells him everything, that the princess has unilaterally rejected the marriage and instructs him to tell Luo Cheng urgently.
So the formal diplomatic channel, the prince, with his army and his impending decree, is just plodding along, while the fate of the entire alliance has just been decided by a secret letter, a maid, and a hermit.
That's it exactly. Meanwhile, Luo Cheng arrives in Le Chaux. He's being hosted by the prefect, And he's just focused on protocol. He's preparing the ritual gifts for mourning, the sacrificial pig and sheep.
He's doing everything by the book.
Everything is formal, traditional, and he is completely unaware. The dramatic irony is just so thick. He's arranging the sacrificial animals, and he has no idea the entire marriage has been decided behind his back.
And then his escort, Zheng Gangjin, starts asking around about the princess, and he learns about
Jia Renfu, the trusted hermit. So Luo Cheng's party decides, okay, let's go visit this hermit first, get some local intelligence on the princess's state of mind.
So Luo Cheng, the prince, with the imperial decree basically in his back pocket, is walking straight into the arms of the one person in the whole region who knows he's just been rejected by his bride.
That is the genius of the narrative. It just forces you to ask, what does true fidelity, Shuzi, even look like? Is it the princess who gives up the marriage for a higher virtue, or is it Yulan who maintained her integrity in the most difficult situation imaginable?
So Luo Gongzi arrives with his entourage, Zhang Gongjin and Qi Shengxing are with him, and he's ready to conduct formal business.
But they're not meeting in some grand hall.
No, they're at the burial ground of Yang Gong and Empress Cao. He plans to mourn the deceased and then, leverage that occasion to propose. It's supposed to be a standard process.
Right. He shows up with a plan, expecting to just execute a standard marriage proposal. But before he can even get off his horse, he is completely blindsided by a preemptive strike.
Yeah, Jia Renfu, one of the attendants, he immediately warns Luo Gongzi about the character of the woman he wants to marry.
And that warning just sets the tone perfectly.
It really does. Jia Renfu describes her as most difficult to predict. He uses the phrase, "singling zikinyo,"
meaning she's clever, quick-witted.
and her mind is sharp and skillful. This isn't just a compliment about her intelligence, it's a straight-up warning about her strategic capacity.
And he immediately proves that warning is true. Princess Du did not wait for Luo to send his request or follow the usual steps.
No, she had already acted.
Get this, at 5 o'clock in the morning, before the sun is even fully up, she dispatches her own formal memorial, a zuzang.
Right, to the Empress in Cheng about the marriage.
That is the ultimate checkmate in the opening move. Let's really unpack the weight of that. The zuzang is it's a high-level formal state document.
Right. Luo intended to lead the discussion locally, maybe through family, maybe some intermediaries.
But Princess Du just completely usurps that authority. By sending her own petition to the highest possible authority, the Empress, she ensures that the decision is now formalized, it's sanctioned, it's political.
It's not a private local arrangement anymore.
She is effectively telling him, you can propose, but the terms of this negotiation are already set at the imperial level, and I set them.
It stripped him of all local leverage.
I just find it stunning that a young woman operating from a burial ground has this level of political foresight to preempt a high-ranking lord through bureaucracy.
It shows a profound understanding of how power actually operates. So Luo Gongzi is left just scrambling. He has to stick to protocol now, insisting on paying his respects. He can't initiate the marriage talk on his own terms anymore.
Which is when she unveils her next strategic layer, the dramatic use of the mourning ritual. Princess Du appears in full mourning clothes, the Shui Zhengshifu.
And this is where the text adds such a brilliant literary tension. Because despite this somber sackcloth attire, the narrative points out she looked even more alluring.
The phrase is Zhengzhou Jian Jinggren.
Right. The contrast is just remarkable. She's using the most restrictive, humble clothing, yet she is so physically striking, it creates this almost magnetic tension.
Then she performs this incredibly formal, respectful act.
Yeah.
A full prostration of gratitude, a Puzan Kosi.
But here's the key maneuver.
She gives him zero chance to move the conversation forward.
None. She cuts the interaction short instantly by just starting to weep loudly. Igrin Gandatong. And then she retreats before you can say a single word about proper business.
It's an impenetrable defense.
I mean, you can't. According to the strict rules of the time, you cannot transition from a deep expression of public grief for the dead to a joyful discussion of marriage.
She used the rules of propriety and mourning etiquette as a literal barrier. If Luo pushes, he risks looking insensitive, disrespectful.
And politically inept.
So he's blocked by the Empress politically, and he's blocked by grief socially. And the formal refusal she sends out just summarizes her strategy perfectly.
Absolutely. She sends a servant out to deliver her final answer there. She thanks the guests, but says flatly that the matter of the marriage must be decided by the present Empress and her family emperor.
Or, Exactly.
She refuses to even respond to his request directly. No hint of agreement.
She maintains total control by appearing highly formal and respectful, but she's entirely unyielding. She forces Luo to abandon that location and pursue the matter through the capital's political channels.
Precisely where she has already submitted her own pre-approved narrative at 5 in the morning.
It's an incredible opening move.
It really establishes that Princess Du is not some prize to be won, but a formidable political operator who controls the terms of her own future.
Which sets up our shift to Xianniang. Luo Gongzi is now forced to go to the capital to try and untangle this bureaucratic knot she just tied.
And if that initial confrontation was about protocol and preemption, well, the next phase of the story reveals a deeper, more personal form of sabotage.
So Luo Gongzi and his party rush to Chang'an, and they connect with his cousin, the highly respected general, Qin Shubao Master Qian.
And Luo immediately confronts him. Cousin, why didn't you act as my intermediary like I asked you to in my letter?
And this is where Qin Shubao reveals the massive point of confusion that's been delaying everything. He says Luo's original letter requested marriage with
to Miss Lian of the Shan family, a huge setback. Qin regretfully explains he couldn't help because he had already promised his own son, Waiyu, to Miss Lian,
which was a gesture of respect and obligation to the captured Shan urge.
Right, so Qin Shubao, thinking Luo was interested in a woman named Shan, had to refuse because of this prior family promise.
And Luo Gongzi's, understandably, completely baffled.
Vehemently denies it.
He insists he never asked for Miss Shan. He only wrote asking Qin Shubao to be the intermediary for his marriage with Princess Du.
So now the two men are facing this impossible contradiction in what should have been straightforward diplomatic correspondence.
And here's where it gets really interesting. This is where they realize they are victims of deliberate manipulation.
They decide to compare the letter Qin Shubao received with a sample of Luo's actual handwriting.
And that moment of realization must have been just electric. The letter Qin Shubao had, the one that caused all the confusion and delay.
It was definitively not Luo's handwriting. It was a forgery.
A forgery that specifically redirected Luo's intention, targeting the one person, Qin Shubao, who might have successfully brokered the Du marriage.
Someone went to incredible lengths to stop this marriage from happening quickly, and they were willing to risk, high-level charges of document manipulation to do it.
So they realized the political game is even deeper than they thought. They had to figure out who intercepted and swapped the letter.
So they call in the original messenger, Qi Guiyan, and he holds the key to the whole mystery.
And Qi Guiyan recounts this wild, dramatic tale. It sounds like it's straight out of a spy novel.
It really does. He admits that after leaving Luo Gongzi, he was captured, not by bandits, but by Princess Du herself.
And he even describes her using the term Hanyatu.
A fierce girl, which just speaks volumes about her resolve when she captured him.
So he says she took the letter. Now, the source material is fascinating here because it's a bit ambiguous. It says she took it and looked at it carefully for a while, but it also implies she might have been illiterate.
Or maybe pretending to be.
Right. Regardless, she held on to this official document. And Qi Guiyan remembers her putting it somewhere secret, in her boot.
And that detail, putting the letter in her boot, that's a classic signal in Chinese literature. It means the document is now hidden, protected, under personal, secretive control.
She basically holds this high-level correspondence hostage until her father, Du Jian, sends an urgent message telling her she needs to leave.
And here's the smoking gun that confirms her active role. Qi Guiyan confirms that she later returned a letter to him along with 20 taels of travel money.
A kind of hush money, maybe.
Probably, but only after she had taken the original and had time to manipulate it.
So all the pieces just click into place for Luo Gongzi and Qin Shubao.
The letter Luo wrote was intercepted, read, and then deliberately changed or swapped out by Princess Du herself.
She didn't just use protocol and grief. She was willing to engage in high-level document forgery and diplomatic manipulation to control the timing and conditions of her own marriage.
I love this part. Qin Shubao summarizes the collective feeling perfectly.
It's a wonderful moment in the text.
He says, looking at it this way, this woman has many wits and abilities and is perfectly suited to be your match.
The
strategic defeat is actually a validation of her worth. Luo Gongzi was humiliated and delayed, but in a way that proved his intended bride was exactly the formidable, intellectually independent, and cunning partner he needed.
So the ultimate compliment for a potential bride was not her beauty or her obedience,
but her ability to outmaneuver you.
So the political tension is resolved, at least internally. Luo's party now agrees she's the perfect match, But Luo still has a secondary request before he leaves Chengyu.
Right, he asks for Hua Yuran, whom the text calls Hua Erye, who had previously promised to travel with him.
And this request introduces a new and completely different layer of complexity.
I mean, Luo has just been politically defeated by Princess Du's cunning, and now he is seeking the companionship of Hua Yuran. He's likely looking for some kind of, I don't know, emotional comfort or moral clarity after all that deception.
Princess Du relays the request, and in a stark contrast to her own manipulative actions, Hua Yuran refuses to emerge.
And her response is built on pure moral resolve. Shuzi.
Right. She tells Princess Du that the previous promise to travel together was just a joke, or, a temporary arrangement. And crucially, she says that such a temporary, ethically ambiguous arrangement should not be tried again.
Yes, she says, "Jingaxing Xingyuchi Yankitangshi," which means good fortune or luck only happens once. Why should one try it again?
That is a profound statement on integrity. She's refusing to be treated as a convenience or an opportunistic travel companion, no matter what casual promises were made before.
She's defining her own moral boundaries. And this is a second display of intense female power, totally distinct from the political power of Princess Du.
And to make her refusal diplomatic, but still firm, I mean, you can't just shut down Luo Gongxi. She sends him a square-folded note, a Zhao Cheng Feng Sheng,
with 16 perfectly crafted characters inside.
This note is the absolute epitome of poetic, unyielding diplomacy. It reads, Lai kitong lai kunan tongku, hochang yuki man liuchaiki.
Let's translate and dissect that. If you came, we could come together. Leaving together is difficult. So that addresses the past promise directly, but refuses the present request.
And the second part.
The flower fragrance has an appointed date. Don't delay your chariot and cavalry. The flower fragrance is this beautiful, poetic suggestion of a hopeful future meeting, but the message is crystal clear.
She is resolutely refusing to leave with him now, regardless of the promise or his need for comfort.
And this refusal, based on moral steadfastness, is just as effective as Princess Du's deception.
It allows Luo Gongxi to save face. He recognizes the poetic quality and the deep integrity of the refusal, and it protects Hua Yuran's reputation and her refusal to compromise her standards.
And Luo Gongxi accepts it with grace, which is why the text later calls him a man of thick virtue. He says he'll return later.
The chapter creates this beautiful juxtaposition. Princess Du achieves her goals through political foresight, cunning, and deception.
And Hua Yuran achieves her goals through unyielding integrity and moral boundaries. Both women are wielding powerful forms of autonomy.
4 ladies from Nunzen Temple arrive, and they listen to this whole convoluted story. The secret memorial, the weeping, the forged letter, and Hua Yuran's absolute moral refusal.
And their assessment really synthesizes what the author wants us to take away about power, gender, and virtue.
They heap specific praise on the 3 protagonists for their defining qualities.
So Hua Yuran is celebrated as a steadfast person of integrity, a Shnizi Ningsenrin.
Princess Du is praised as a good-hearted person among the women of the chambers, or Gujie Shungzi Yoshinren. Notice she's not called morally perfect.
No, just clever and strategic.
And Luo Gongxi is called a man of thick virtue, a Zinking Zizunghor Deisingzi, because he accepted both the strategic manipulation and the moral refusal with respect. And you can see how sensitive this is just by how the first document gets delivered. It wasn't during a formal court session. It was all done privately.
It had a very specific path, didn't it?
A very careful one. It went from the petitioners, Wu Liang and Jinling, to the powerful official, Yuan Shiji. Then Shiji sent it via a eunuch to his own sister, contorting Yuan Zeoi.
Wow, that is a surgical path to power. And the scene when the petition finally lands, it's just classic drama. Consort Zeoi hands this critical document to the emperor and empress while they're just relaxing.
Playing a quiet game of chess in their private chambers, of all things.
So the future of a key general and a major family is literally being decided over a board game.
That intimate setting is everything, though. It means the emperor is open to, conversational persuasion. But he's also going to be incredibly skeptical of flowery language or any hint of deception.
Right. So let's look at Du Xianniang's opening move. It's her official request. The title is something like, "Candidly stating my humble heart to promote a flourishing reign."
She's immediately framing it. Her personal choice is actually good for the entire empire.
And her request.
A very respectful, very eloquent refusal of the marriage.
She can't just say, "I'm not interested," can she?
No, absolutely not. She has to justify it with impeccable reasons, all rooted in duty.
So she gives two main arguments. The first one is about their history, past enmity. She's actually very frank about it.
She is. She says she and Luo Cheng have been sworn enemies. The text says they viewed each other like enemies that must be opposed.
And her argument is that even if they admire each other's talents now, that conflict just runs too deep to build a marriage on.
It's a pragmatic argument. It's understandable. But then she pivots, dramatically, to argument number 2, a higher calling.
Ah.
Okay. She claims that while she initially made a conditional promise to find a matchmaker, things got delayed. And now her true purpose has changed.
She says her primary goal is to abandon the world for a religious life, to seek the pure land.
And she frames it as seeking her father, who, in her words, abandoned the world by imperial decree. It's the perfect political shield.
You're refusing a marriage for piety and filial duty. Who can argue with that?
And she backs it up with this incredible statement about her own resolve. It really makes her stand out. She says something like, "My heart isn't stone, it cannot be turned."
That's a powerful line.
It's an unshakable, defiant declaration. She says she'll either live to see her father or die happy to be with her mother.
That is heavy. She's made her case, rooted it in duty, piety, all of that. But then she completely shifts the focus.
Yes. The petition pivots away from herself and onto 2 other women. It feels intentional, like a distraction, or maybe some kind of lobbying.
This is where we start to feel like maybe there's a co-author.
Almost certainly. She uses her own refusal letter to champion 2 related figures, the sisters Hua Mulan and Hua Yulan.
And when we say Mulan, we mean that Mulan, the legend who took her father's place in the army.
The very same. Du Xianniang recounts Mulan's tragedy. After her service, Mulan was protected by the emperor's grace, but while traveling home, she was pursued by the Khagan Shazuo.
A threat from the north. And he wanted to seize her for her talent and beauty.
Exactly. So, to avoid that dishonor, Du Xianniang claims Mulan took her own life. She cut her throat to maintain her chastity. It's a powerful appeal, playing on the immense value placed on female virtue.
And she's asking the court to formally recognize Mulan as a national hero for this.
Yes, but Mulan's story, as tragic as it is, just sets the stage for the next part, the unbelievable part, involving her younger sister, Hua Yulan.
Okay, here we go.
This is where it moves from believable tragedy to something like high fantasy. Du Xianniang says that Mulan, on her deathbed, entrusted her younger sister, Hua Yulan, to take her place and fulfill a promise to Du Xianniang.
And now for the part that must have made the emperor almost drop a chess piece.
I would imagine so. Du Xianniang reports that while Yulan was traveling, she was encountered by Luo Cheng.
The man she's supposed to marry.
The very same. And despite the 2 of them, and I'm quoting here, sharing a bed and speaking together, Yulan miraculously maintained her purity. Her virtue remained absolutely unspoiled.
Wait, hold on. She puts that in an official petition to the emperor.
She pushes it hard. She calls it a miracle of 2 jades joined and says it's worthy of imperial recognition. But let's be frank, this is a massive political risk.
I was just thinking that. If your goal is just to politely refuse a marriage, why invent this fantastical, easily disprovable story? Why include it at all?
Because if it's true, it elevates her petition to a spiritual level the emperor can't just dismiss. But the court immediately picks up on the absurdity.
Of course they do.
The emperor shows the document to Qin Wang, that's Li Shimin, the future emperor Taizong, and Qin Wang is instantly skeptical. He says that while Mulan's suicide for honor might be true, Yulan's story...
Sharing a bed and remaining pure.
He says it seems hard to believe quickly.
That's the ancient Chinese equivalent of an eye roll. And the court's suspicion then immediately shifts, doesn't it? It moves away from the story itself and onto the author of the petition.
Precisely. Consort Yuan Zaoi, the one who delivered it, pipes up and suggests that the elegant, highly refined style might not actually be Du Xianniang's own.
She thinks it was written by someone else.
She suggests it was penned by Du Xianniang's companion, a woman named Yuan Xian.
And that one detail, the identity of the companion, is the real key, of which we'll get back to. But is this whole Mulan and Yulan saga just a beautiful lie designed by Yuan Xian to distract the court? They're actively debating this.
And that's what makes the dynamic so volatile. Du Xianniang has just told the supreme ruler of the land a story that his own son, the crown prince, finds unbelievable.
If they prove it's a fabrication, she's in serious trouble. Not just a forced marriage, but maybe even charges of misleading the throne.
And as they're all discussing this, the emperor makes a comment, almost sarcastically. that maybe Luo Yi, the father, has decided to reject the match himself.
Yeah, I'm right on cue.
The timing is just perfect. A memorial from Luo Yi arrives, and it completely shatters the narrative Du Xianniang just spent an entire document crafting.
His memorial is what, the exact opposite?
It's a straightforward request. Please, finalize this marriage immediately. He completely ignores her spiritual aspirations, her claims of past enmity, all of it.
He doesn't even mention the Hua sisters.
Not a word. His narrative is simple, direct, and frankly, aggressive. It completely contradicts her story about a conditional promise. Luo Yi says that Du Xianniang was the one who initiated the match. He claims she agreed to be bound by the red thread of fate after one word on horseback during a military clash.
So he's painting a picture of this, I don't know, a passionate mutual commitment forged in the heat of battle.
Exactly. And he stresses the necessity of the union. His son is 24, long of age. She's a perfect match. He confidently asserts that if Luo Cheng doesn't marry her, he won't find another suitable wife, and she won't find a suitable husband.
This is it's pure political audacity. Luo Yu is telling the emperor, the other document is a lie. This was agreed upon, she started it, and it needs to happen for social stability.
He's essentially forcing the emperor to choose which powerful family's version of history he's going to endorse.
It's an incredibly high-stakes moment. If Luo Yi is lying, he's attacking the honor of the empress's niece. If Du Xianniang is lying, she's insulting a major general's son and the emperor's authority.
And what's so interesting is how quickly the emperor and Qin Wang pivot. They sort of move away from deciding who's telling the truth about the marriage.
They acknowledge the talent of Du Xianniang and the bravery of Mulan, sure. But the real goal of the discussion is sparked by that single, seemingly minor detail from Consort Zawi.
The mention of Xianniang, the rumored ghostwriter.
That name triggers a completely different memory in the emperor. He recalls the beautiful, educated women of the 16 courts of the fallen Sui dynasty.
These women just vanished after the Sui collapsed. No one knew where they went. It's a massive historical puzzle lurking right under the surface of our story.
Lost history, lost intelligence.
And the emperor suddenly realizes that Yuanxian, as a former palace lady herself, might hold the key to the entire mystery.
She might know where the others are.
She might reveal a hidden network of people from the old dynasty. Suddenly, the marriage debate it's irrelevant.
The emperor now sees Du Xianniang, Yuanxian, and even the suspiciously virtuous Hua Yulan as intelligence assets, not just aristocratic problems.
Exactly. The fate of the marriage, and potentially the fate of all these women, is completely hijacked. The emperor decides to leverage the situation, not to solve the contradiction between the two memorials, but to solve his own political puzzle.
So what's the final decree?
It completely ignores the poetry, the refusal, and the drama of the Hua sisters. The emperor orders a joint summoning.
Not just Du Xianniang.
No. Du Xianniang, the mysterious ghostwriter Yuanxian, and the highly praised Hua Yulan, the one whose story Qin Wang found so hard to believe, they all have to be brought to the capital.
Escorted by Yuan Shiji and 2 eunuchs for a face-to-face imperial audience. The marriage, which was the whole point, is now just the excuse. The imperial blessing used to justify bringing these critical witnesses into the capital.